love to play in your fun and your games. Always hungry for more, that's just how I was born. Take me somewhere I don't know and give me your freedom. Whoa, you love me to pieces, yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium, life is so easy. Whoa, you love me to pieces, yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium. The limit of love is endless, I know. Just do what you want with me. Yeah, I want it all. Could care less the cost. I give you my everything. Some would say I'm insane in the right in a way, but I just love to play in your fun and your games. Always hungry for more, that's just how I was born. Take me somewhere I don't know and give me your freedom. Whoa, you love me to pieces, yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium, life is so easy. Whoa, you love me to pieces, yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium. And give me your freedom. Whoa, yeah, to pieces, yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium, life is so easy. Whoa, you love me to pieces, yeah, I need it. Want your pandemonium.
Welcome back. In this next part, we're going to be talking about banding on the top of the kilt. Now, traditionally, the cutoff from the top of the tartan, when it was first ripped in part 1 of this series, a lot of the kilt makers actually put this on the top of their banding there. The problem with that is, unless you're super skilled, it's very hard to get this lined up and that lined up so that all of this matches. And it only works with the outer apron. Once you go from the outer apron, then you have this at the back, and it looks like that. All right, something like that. Now, for me, that's off-putting to the eye because I've got these stripes that are coming up from the kilt, and then I've got to look at this horrendous band at the top there. So only the outer apron can get a nice matchy, and then as the kilt works on, all of this goes to this side, and then you have this unsightly thing. Also, it adds a lot of bulk to the waist. So what I do with all my kilts is I get a cotton band like this, and you can get them at any haberdashery store. I like to get the nice big ones. And this one is 1.5 inches or 4 centimeters, 3.75 centimeters, and it's nice and big. It's nice and wide. It's made of cotton. I'm not too sure what the name is. I might leave it in the comments below. And it's not that expensive. but don't get the shiny canvas ones, get the 100% cotton ones. And I'm going to be showing you how this finishes off the top of the kilt very, very nicely. All right, so that's what I'm going to be doing there. So you have a look. Sometimes you might want to choose a different color, but this blue won't go with that. I have used on occasion a beige that goes on a kilt that I've done. That looks pretty nice. I have used white, but for this kilt here, I'm going to be using the black. It's a nice professional finish. I have used red on Stuart the one day, but I think this looks nice. So in this presentation, I'm going to be showing you how we're discarding this and we're bringing in this. So I always pin this to my kilt first. I don't go freehand. That's not going to work. So can you see on there, I've got the herringbone that goes this way from left to right, and then the herringbone goes from right to left, and so forth, right? So this is a nice gauge as to where I'm going to be putting this on the top of my kilt. Now again, I'm going to be leaving this section. I give a nice generous portion up at the top there, so we allow a little bit more flappy, and then I place that on the top of that fraying bit. Can you see the top of the fraying bit? All right. Then I take my magic pins and I just pin that. And I pin all the way along at periodic intervals. And this is going to set the tone as to where the top of my kilt ends. So I go through and I do the whole way around. So can you see when I started, we allowed for that bit of fraying. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to cover that fraying bit. I'm going to stitch that there where it goes from left to right and right to left. I'm going to be stitching, and I'm going to do a nice solid stitch all the way, and it's all hand stitched. I don't use anything from a sewing machine. Once that's done, I take this portion and I fold it over. And as I fold it over, that now becomes the top band. So it leaves a nice even finish. We don't have unsightly tartan up at the top. It's not that bulky. And then in another presentation, I'll show you how to stitch that in the back. So this is what we're going to be doing now. We're putting the band onto our tartan. So can you see now, by me turning this over, that red line now becomes the focal point. So I'm going to be aiming as I go along here that the red line is always going to be visible. Can you see that? So hence, when I initially ripped this tartan, I didn't worry too much about these end bits fraying, because it doesn't really make a difference, because I'm going to be covering it in any case. Also, can you see these bits there? Those ones that are sticked in? Well, by me doing this, it's covering that. So as soon as I put that pin in, I turn that over, that red band is now visible, and none of the sticking is visible. So I'm going to be doing this all along, and I'll see you at the other side. Alright, as usual, I always wax my thread. So I've pinned from left to right all the way to the end. Now because I'm right-handed, I like sewing from right to left. For you lefties, it will be the opposite way around. So I've got about 1/2 meter left of this, and I don't throw it away. I always buy it by the meter, so I need to cut it. Now again, I'm not going to be cutting it flush. I cut it somewhat a little bit longer. The reason for that being is if the wearer gains weight, then we can always extend and open the kilt up somewhat and then continue wearing the kilt. However, I have had to recently change the bands because this was cut too short and it looked unsightly, so I had to redo the whole top band for someone. Alright, so here we go. I'm just going to be working from right to left. Now, my gauge is going to be under that red line. But if I've pinned that all the way up to the top, there where the fraying starts, so all I'm going to be doing is with not too thick, not too small, and again, I'm using my silk thread. I start there where there's that line. Can you see that line there? And all I'm doing is I'm going to be stitching on that line. And I'm just doing a running stitch. And I'm just going to be taking my time. And as I'm moving past, just remove those magic pins. So all I'm doing is I'm just taking a stitch and staying on that line or near as to that line as possible, because anything you deviate will be seen at the bottom of that band. So I'll just show you a couple more and then I'll turn it over and I'll show you what it looks like. Now there's one fly here. It's really annoying. I've got my door open purely because it is 30 degrees outside. I'm in insulation here. It's bearable, but because I've committed to making these videos, I'm now seeing it to the end. I have already had a subscriber say, Garth, when are you going to finish the videos? So I'm moving at the speed of science here, guys. It's also school vacation and it's very hot down here in the southern hemisphere. I'm in a beautiful place called Margaret River and I've got the kids on vacation, so I've got to do dad duties as well. Right, so I've given you a small run there. There it is there. So again, with the herringbone, there's a left to right and then a right to left to right, right to left. I've started stitching there, and when I'm done, I'm going to be turning that over, and it forms a beautiful, beautiful edge. There it is there. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch all the way along, and I'll catch you on the other side. So I started there, and I worked all the way, did the back, all the way to the outer apron, finished there. Then what happens next is I turn the kilt over, and I bring that. Now I've decided not to cut this, but leave it in there in the unlikely event the wearer needs to add some length, so we'll leave it in there. So all I do with this is I turn it over like that. Now this section there, I bring it in and then I stitch that in. So I've brought this thread in from the other side, so we can start over there, and I'm just stitching it in. Then go up into the top. So again, it's a good idea to use your magic pins, otherwise you're just going to be fighting. So all I'm doing is I'm turning the top over, alright. So that is hugging nicely on the side. And because this is going to be under the cotton lining, just sewing it down. So I'm just going through all of those layers. Right, now start there, and all I do is I just pick and go. So I went from a back stitch to a running stitch. So all I'm doing is I'm turning that black cotton over. I'm going from the bottom into the top, and I'm just nicking. Now be careful you don't go all the way through, because then you'll go through to the other side, and you don't want that. I'm just nicking the canvas up to the top. Canvas up to the top, and then that is what it looks like. Nice and neat. It's got a beautiful finishing off there. This is going to be on the band, on the red line all the way through. It's nice and soft to the touch. It feels very comfortable, and it's awfully comfortable to wear. And it's pleasing to the eye. You don't have these offset bands, and you either get this band on properly or not. And if it's slightly off, your eye can see that. Can you see that? Even if it's slightly off, your eye can see it. So, and a lot of the times when I'm looking at kilts, the first thing I see to see how good the kilt maker was is I look at the band. I don't even look at anything else. I always look at the top band first, and the majority of the times they look like that. So for me to alleviate that and the bulk of this, take it away, then that's what I'm doing. So nice, and it's not too thick there. That's it there. So all you're doing is you're taking all of this canvas and you're putting it into a nice neat bundle, in order for you now to put that cotton lining up, and then we're done. Instead of fast forwarding, I thought I'd show you just a few more seconds, but by all means fast forward through to the end. So all I'm doing is I'm taking the canvas and going into the black band, and I'm keeping my stitching fairly small, not too big. And the only thing is that I'm keeping the band, I'm stitching the band to the canvas, because once I've finished with the band, I'm going to be putting the cotton lining on, and then that's my finishing. So my cotton lining is going to go on the top there and cover all of this. But this just gives a nice platform from time to time. You just see if you've gone through the back there, and the idea is not to go through the back, because then it goes straight into the front, and then that's a mistake. It's visible. especially on the aprons, the inner and the outer. There's only this little fine piece of canvas that's preventing you from going through. So again, you find your groove. Just keep your line nicely waxed. Keep your pins nicely spaced. Don't try and rush it. There's no rush. Again, allow yourself for 20 hours. Even though it's a 4-yard kilt and not an 8-yard kilt. With an 8-yard kilt, allow yourself another 10 hours on top of that. So the reason why I make kilts is because I wear them, I enjoy them. And for me, this is therapy. Really relaxing. Alright, so you can see the gist of this, and all I'm doing is I'm going through from start all the way to the end, and I'll catch you on the end. So on the inside, this is what it looks like. I've finished this off quite nicely. Moving along, all the nice fine stitches, and all that this does is it keeps everything in a nice tight package, and that's what you want. Thickness wise, we're looking at all of that double fabric there, including the canvas, and it's nicely contained there. So, very, very comfortable to wear. Then the outside, this is what it looks like. There we go. And all the way along, there's the buttonhole. Nice thick bar tacks. I'm very happy with that. Moving along. So, a very well made, well stitched kilt. Can you see how that finishes it off nicely? Look at it, goes nicely with that contour. And this again is the inside, and it goes all the way down. All right, so what's next is we do the buckle. We do a buckle. We do the straps on either end, and then we do the cotton lining, iron or press, and then done.